This is Chris Cuomo, newsman, America's sweetheart, many have said. He is over at News Nation, fell for an incredible deepfake that looked nothing. We're going to play it in just a second. But the idea that this was actually Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, as much as you may think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is clownish or silly, this deepfake was incredible. And Chris Cuomo responded to it by criticizing AOC for not mentioning a condemnation of Hamas in this fake video. AOC responded, "This is a deepfake, dude. Please use your critical thinking skills." And momentarily, briefly, fleetingly, the entire country was cheering on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in her skirmish with one Christopher Cuomo. So to get a flavor of how profoundly stupid this was, let's go ahead and roll the clip that Chris Cuomo thought he was reacting to, S9.
Sydney Sweeney looks like an Aryan goddess. And the American Eagle Jeans campaign is blatant Nazi propaganda. I mean, fuck. Watching that sultry little temptress squeeze into a Canadian tuxedo, three sizes too small, with her bouncy little fun bags on the screen staring at you, piercing through the core of your soul with those ocean blue eyes that could resurrect the Fuhrer from his grave in Argentina.
That was
so
my favorite part.
Instead of simping for the Sydneys, we should be celebrating the Shaniquas. Instead of worshiping the hot, straight blonde, what about the obese alphabet, people with blue hair? They need love too. And to all the haters who say companies that go woke, go broke, I'd rather be poor than a fucking Nazi.
I don't even know what to say. If you were watching it, you could visually see that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez looked cartoonish, exactly like a deepfake. Cuomo responded, "I was wrong, but it did sound like something you would say." I'm paraphrasing him, but that's basically verbatim how he responded. And I'd like to know which part of that he thought was something that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez would say. Was it resurrecting the Fuhrer from his Argentinian grave? Was it the part about Shaniqua? The fun bags? Was it that part that sounded like something Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, feminist, would say on the floor of the House of Representatives? What must have happened to, again, this man's brain to get from point A to point B? We can barely begin to comprehend. This is a man that CNN was putting millions of dollars behind not long ago during Trump 1. This was one of CNN's stars. He was a bona fide media heavyweight. And he fell for something most people's grandmothers would know was fake. Not only did he fall for it, he proudly, confidently published a response implying that he fell for it, showing everyone that he fell for it. That's how badly he fell for it. And I don't think we should lose sight of that. It wasn't as though you were at a coffee bar with Chris Cuomo scrolling and he saw that and he was like, "Oh, it sounds like something she would say. Wow." No. This man saw the video and then he posted about the video because he was so convinced that it was real, he needed to respond. This is your brain on social media. I don't know, maybe it was always this way. Maybe Chris Cuomo is a bad example. Maybe the sample is off. I'm no social scientist, but I'm open to that idea. This is not a fair experiment because our sample is tainted in this case by Chris Cuomo being Chris Cuomo, always being Chris Cuomo. But again, I don't think most people's grandmothers would be fooled by that deep fake. Some would. Most people's would not. I mean, just incredible stuff. It's breaking all of our brains. Even I don't think Chris Cuomo has always been, people are probably going to correct me. Maybe people who have known Chris Cuomo for years are going to say, yeah, he would have fallen for that in 1994. I don't know, though. This is breaking our brains. But it's an interesting example of how the Sweeney discourse in particular reflected some of our brokenness. The New York Times had a wild look. I'm going to put this on the screen. A wild look where it tried to kind of do an autopsy of how this story became viral. If you read the New York Times story, this is Tom Bevan, our friend. He says, New York Times goes with the blatantly false Pod Bro narrative, referring to Pod Save America, that the Sydney Sweeney controversy was all a concoction of the right. And he talked about it with Megan on her show last week. And if you read the New York Times story, it's wild. I posted about this too. It uses a study that shows the discourse was totally Streisanded on Twitter, on X, meaning that the criticism to the response made that response go viral in itself. So the right's criticism of the left's criticism of the ad, we're getting real meta here, but the right's criticism of the left's taking offense at that ad is what made the people who took offense at that ad go viral on X. Well, guess what? X is not TikTok. And guess what else? TikTok is much more popular. So if you scroll down in the New York Times story, you realize they say there were a few very viral posts on TikTok from liberals who took offense at what was going on with Sydney Sweeney in the ad. This is in the New York Times story that is framed as a rebuttal to the conservative narrative that legitimately people on the left were offended by the Sydney Sweeney ad. Do I think some of it was overstated? Absolutely. But were viral posts actually making their way around social media, suggesting people on the left were legitimately angry? The types of people who post on TikTok, not a representative sample size of the public, but of the capital O, capital L online left. That was absolutely happening. And the New York Times rebuts it in their own story on Sweeneygate. And it's just incredible that no editor took the time to be like, whoa, this is what editors are for, by the way. You get over your skis, you think you've really nailed it, and you have all the evidence and your ducks in a row, and the editor's like, this doesn't say what you're saying that it says. And we're talking about the New York Times that's now trying to fundamentally change itself and transform back into the paper of record that will fairly cover power, hold power to account, and the like. I mean, in their own story, they're rebutting the part of their headline, how the right shaped the debate over the Sydney Sweeney ads. The debate was shaped out of the gate. I mean, this is semantics. Technically, you can say the story is about how the right shaped the Sydney Sweeney debate. But the implication of the entire story is that it was all Streisanded, right? This was mostly the right being upset about a tiny, tiny amount. Like the right created the controversy over the Sydney Sweeney ad and is overstating the degree to which people were really offended by this. I think it's true that because the right latched onto this, realizing it was good. I mean, J.D. Vance was talking about it, realizing that it was sort of a political winner for the right to look like they were standing up for a popular young celebrity like Sydney Sweeney. Because of that, there was more attention that probably needed to be given to the Sydney Sweeney story. But they were responding to actually real outrage and offense on the left. Well, over the years, I've been clear about this. I'm not just pro-birth, I'm pro-life. And being pro-life, of course, means standing with mothers, not only before their baby is born, but long after. And that is exactly why I partner very proudly with Preborn. Preborn doesn't just save babies, they make motherhood abundantly possible. They provide free ultrasounds and share the truth of the gospel with women in crisis, and then they stay with real practical help, including financial support for up to 2 years after the baby is born. Amazing. This is what true Christ-centered compassion looks like, not just for that little baby, but for the mother too. And here's where you can make a difference. Just $28 provides a free life-saving ultrasound. One chance for a mother to see her baby, and when she does, she's twice as likely to choose life. Preborn is trying to save 70,000 babies this year, so don't just say you're pro-life. Live it. Help save babies and support mothers today. Go to preborn.com/Emily or call 855-601-2229. That's preborn.com/Emily.